Hey, come with me to see a week in the life of a congressman fighting back against the Trump administration. My name is Rick Larsen, and I represent Northwest Washington State in the U.S. House of Representatives. When the House is out of session, all that means is that we're not in D.C. to be voting on bills, and rather I'm home in Everett in the district working for you. These out-of-session weeks, I spend time talking to leaders and organizations all over Northwest Washington State. In these conversations, I hear firsthand how the Trump administration is impacting my friends and neighbors. For example, I recently went to Langley Public Library. Trump is making cuts to funding for libraries, which will cause cuts to the services that local public libraries can offer, like free Wi-Fi for you and your neighbors. And I donated some books from the Library of Congress while I was there. I also went to the Carl Gibson Center in Everett to speak to seniors about their concerns regarding cuts to Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. The Trump administration is trying to cut health care for thousands of Northwest Washington residents, and Democrats and me are fighting against the Trump administration against these draconian health care cuts. Community groups and leaders in Northwest Washington State are my eyes and ears on the ground. I need to hear these stories so that I can understand how Trump's actions are hurting the families I represent and how I can fight back effectively. That's why calling or emailing your member of Congress is so important. We need to hear from you about what you want us to do. I'm also the top Democrat on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, also known as the T&I Committee. I'm responsible for legislation and regulation for airplanes and airports, roads and bridges, ferries and ports, rail and rail transit, and so much more. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I'm basically the Public Works Director for Democrats in the House of Representatives. As a top Democrat on the T&I Committee, one big project I'm working on is the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Bill. Now, I know this sounds boring, but stay with me here. Working on transportation maybe isn't all that, but I assure you it's very important and impacts your life. The Surface Transportation Bill allows Congress to continue the job-creating infrastructure projects that started with the bipartisan infrastructure law of 2021. To make sure the bill is good for Northwest Washington State, I held roundtables in each of the 5 counties I represent. These roundtables gave local stakeholders an opportunity to tell me directly what they need. Listening to the people in my community is how I know that when I go back to Washington, D.C., that I'm fighting for the interests of Northwest Washington State. At the end of the out-of-session week, I also hosted the Congressional Art Competition. The winner of the competition won a free trip to Washington, D.C. with her piece, Swallow Your Attitude. Congratulations to Tessa from Oak Harbor High School, and I look forward to seeing you in D.C. when we hang Swallow Your Attitude in the U.S. Capitol. Thanks for following along, and stay tuned on my social media to find out what I'm doing to fight back against the Trump administration and for the interests of the people I serve in Northwest Washington State. See you next time.